Hello, everyone. It has been a few months since we did an episode, or like 4 or 5 months. We haven't done one since October. It is now March. It's been a while, and it is my fault. I've been going through some personal stuff, and I have not really been in the mood to talk about things. I still don't want to talk about it, but I do want to talk now about podcasty things. It's going to be a little weird or a little bit difficult um, for me because I don't want to talk too much about my personal stuff, but I still want to talk about this stuff. So forgive me if I say cryptic things or whatever. It's just going to be a little weird for everyone for a little while.
And to be clear, these are not health issues,
Yeah,
which
I'm
is
not
worth
dying
saying.
or anything. Yeah, yeah. Um, so okay, podcasty, putting that behind us. Uh, I think, well, we don't really have, a super crazy cool topic today, but um, I kind of just want to catch up a bit. And I can say on my side that I feel okay. So there's the personal stuff that I don't want to talk about, right? And that's been up and down and everything, um, mostly just down. But the art stuff, I'm still doing art. I have found a way to continue working on art stuff and really prioritizing it right now. And um, I think it's going pretty well for me. Um, the art side of things is going pretty well. And I feel kind of overwhelmed with with everything that I've been thinking about over the last few months because I want to just talk about 1,000 different aspects of everything I've been learning, and I feel very excited about some things, and there's just so much, and I don't really know where to start or what to talk about. And you've also been doing a bunch of stuff, and we've hardly talked at all over the last 4 or 5 months. So yeah, what's up?
Well, let's not make the goal of trying to talk about everything today. I've had several distinct phases of me discovering something or working on some new idea that I got very excited about and thought, man, I sure wish we were doing the podcast because this is exactly the kind of thing that I would love to talk through with Dan. And we didn't. So we won't cover all that today. I don't think we're going to make any promises about what the state of the podcast is going to be like. I think just for now, we're doing an episode, which is already a big milestone. And so hopefully soon, who knows, we'll talk about more stuff, if nothing else, just for our own sakes. But, well, we talked very briefly. We really haven't talked much at all in the past few months. But you had said that you had kind of started some new technique or something as part of your ritual in the morning to try and get yourself into the state of mind in order to do art. And I want to ask you about that because that sounded interesting. So tell me about that.
Okay, the in from my viewpoint, what seems to be the biggest issue with you know creative people these days is the perfectionism. I mean, the crippling what we call perfectionism. Uh, People are just afraid to make stuff, and they're
Yep.
afraid to be bad at making things, and they complain all day long or whatever. They call themselves perfectionists, and they think it sounds good, but whatever. Um, it's a major thing, and I think it's a whole bunch of different whatever. We've talked about it before. Perfectionism, whatever. I think I have struggled greatly with that with when it comes to art. Really anything I do, but I become paralyzed in feeling like I'm not good enough or whatever. It's just been a major issue since the beginning, pretty much.
Yep.
And I can comfortably say a couple months ago, I had reached a point where I was considering just being done with it. I mean, more so than, just a day where you get frustrated with it and like, I just give up. It was like
Right.
I think I might be done. I'm, you know, just maybe this is not for me because I've tried so hard to overcome this feeling and I just can't get through it. I
Yeah.
can't do it. And I've tried for years and it's just not going away. So that was me about 2 months ago. And since then, it's been the complete opposite. I mean, I tend to speak in extremes. So either I'm quitting and giving up or it's the best thing ever. Um, so
Sure.
just if you've listened to this podcast for any
We
length
get
of
it.
time, you'll know that about me. But I can pretty safely say that things have been going pretty well in the art world for me.
Yeah.
In terms of how I feel about art, I haven't been having a lot of that crippling uh, anxiety about art. I haven't felt paralyzed by it, by the perfectionism, whatever. And I think it's all due to something that I kind of found in this book that I think is interesting. And I think it ties back into a lot of things we've talked about before. And I think that's cool.
Show us the book. What is the secret?
Okay. Um, the book is called The Artist's Way. And it's it's been I think it came out in the 70s. So I'm a little late to the game. Um, or it says copyright 1992. So oh well. Um,
Could be a newer version or something. Who knows?
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's called The Artist's Way: A Spiritual Path to Higher Creativity, which I'm not big on the spiritual stuff. Uh, so I applaud myself for even giving this book a chance.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think you should be proud of me. But
I'm very proud of you.
so what I think is interesting about this book, if you struggle with perfectionism or those types of things, is that it provides some exercises, uh, surrounded by a bunch of religious wording, but it provides some actual exercises that seem to hit on a couple important things, uh, and they seem to actually work, or they seem to be working for me. And it could just be that this is what I really needed, and most people, this isn't the case. But
Hmm.
whatever the case is, it seems to be really helping me and has been helping me for about 2 months straight, consistently. And that is something that I can feel comfortable getting excited about because it has gone on for this long. It's lasted more than the 2 weeks of novelty effect, right? So we've gotten past the 2 weeks and it's more like 2 months. So I'm
Yeah, that's pretty good.
feel a little more comfortable getting excited about it. Um, it's become a part of my ritual, morning ritual. And that is, uh, okay, I'm rambling a lot, but the exercise, she calls it, Julia Cameron is the author. She calls them the morning pages. Basically, you write 3 pages of whatever pops into your head, which sounds really simple, and it is. But the goal of the exercise is to practice overcoming what she calls the censor, which is the the controlling part of your brain that tells you, oh, that idea is dumb, or that's a stupid idea. I've never seen that before. It's not. It doesn't fit. Um, you're wrong. Whatever. The censor. We all know what it sounds like. Um, imagine yourself sitting down to write a journal entry and you sit there for 5-10 minutes trying to come up with a really genius starter line and you can't do it, so you close the journal and give up
Hmm.
because it's better to write nothing than to write something dumb. Well, the morning pages aim to get rid of that mentality completely, to where you just write the dumbest stuff or the smartest stuff. It doesn't matter. You write everything down that comes to your head. And so you first thing you do in the morning, you do this and your brain kind of learns that whatever thoughts you have are okay. and it's safe to just go ahead and put them down. Um, I have so many thoughts about this that it's hard for me to get them all out. Um, but basically, I mean, I will start writing, and anything that comes to my head just goes. Like, um, beer flavored soda pop, uh, banana pie, dumplings, like whatever pops in your head, it goes on the page, and then you get
Mm-hmm.
right back to I need to go to the grocery store later today or whatever, or I need to go to the mailbox or something like. But it all shows up on the page, and
Mm.
you go through this practicing of overriding the part of your brain that says that is really stupid. Don't say that. Sugar plum cocoa puffs, right? You have these thoughts that pop in your head, and you are trained to say, no, don't say that. That's stupid.
Yeah.
And it is. But you're practicing saying them anyway.
Right.
And I was a little disappointed at first when I
Are all
saw
your
in the
intrusive thoughts food related?
I, apparently, and you know what? You can't judge me for that.
No, I don't.
Um,
It's cool.
I guess foods just have goofy names or something. I don't know.
Sure.
Anyway, I was disappointed at first that the main exercise in the artist's way was not in fact art. It was
Yeah.
writing. And I was like, if it's not art, then it's not going to help. But I've been completely wrong about that. And I think it works because it is something that I'm not super passionate about. It's I want you to do this, but I don't know if you actually struggle with these same things as much as I do. So it may not be quite as effective for you. Then again, maybe it would. I don't know. Do you think you struggle with?
Hey, um, without getting too far off the path we're on here, there's been a few things that I've been playing with. One of which is this setup with these like AR glasses that have a display in them, and a Linux environment on my phone that sits in my pocket, and this little keyboard that I can use to like do coding and stuff. So a few times I've like gone to a coffee shop and just like left the phone in my pocket and used these AR glasses and done development on my little folding keyboard. Look like a total douche. But it's been this thing that I've been excited about because it's just kind of novel, and it's given me this way to like carry around a full development environment just in my pockets without a bag or a laptop or whatever. And go work in the park and get up and walk and whatever. Anyway, just this random thing that I've been excited about. And I've been thinking about it a lot. And I was thinking I should write a blog post about it because I think there'd be some other developers that might be interested in this. Everybody has a phone and they like the mobility of a phone, but I, through a lot of pain, figured out how to get a full desktop environment running on my phone. And so I could see like maybe other people besides me using it. Anyway, I decided to write a blog post. So I'm thinking through what would I say, and I want to talk about the experience. And then a couple nights ago, I'm like, okay, I've been thinking about it a lot. Let's just try to write something. Not a final copy, not anything, just whatever. Just get some stuff down on a page and, worry about it later or start over later, whatever. Just get it out. And so I write a sentence and I'm like, man, that sounds dumb. And I delete the whole thing and I'd write another one. And then I maybe make it to 2 sentences. Like, this sucks. And I wound up spending, I don't know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes of my time just rewriting to, I think my high watermark was probably 3 sentences before I deleted everything. And I just had this feeling of, can I even do this? Can I write just a simple little, here's what I did? And I think it's kind of interesting. And it felt paralyzing. So to answer your question, yes, I deal with that.
Okay, good. That's comforting to me. Okay, so during this period where we had not been doing the podcast, I went through a book reading phase where I was not doing art. I was reading books, and I would just read all day long.
Fiction books
And
or self-help
I read
books?
like 3 Stephen King books
Okay.
and self-help books and whatever. And The Artist's Way. Although I haven't
Mhm.
finished it, I'm still working through it. But
Yeah.
one of the books I read was Dreamcatcher by Stephen King, which is a very big book by him. Uh, it's not his biggest, but it's pretty damn like
He tends to
it's a big
write
book.
big books.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, we get it.
it's one of his larger ones, not the biggest one, but whatever.
Right.
I'm reading Dreamcatcher, which was absolutely disgusting. And
He could be a little gross.
no, but this was next level gross. And it was kind of a shame because I really liked the characters at first. Anyway, that's besides the point. Uh but I think in the back of the book, he says that this was the first book he wrote since his car accident. I think it was a car accident, or he was hit by a car or
Oh,
something.
I
He was
didn't
in an
know anything about
accident
that. Okay.
and like in a wheelchair for a while. This was the first book that he wrote since the accident, and he wrote it all with a goddamn pen. He wrote the
Cool.
entire book with a pen. And I was thinking about that. And when I read that, I could not. It hurt me. It physically hurt me. It made me feel uncomfortable with pain because I'm thinking about me with my journals, and you just sit there and what's the term? You suffer. It hurts. It hurts to write that
Yeah.
stuff. And the reason is because the censor, as Julia Cameron calls it, is constantly berating you for how stupid you are. And this is the inner game of tennis as well.
Yeah.
It's the self one, or fighting with the self two, or whatever it was. And
See, you can't remember which is which either. I told you those are
no,
bad names.
yeah, whatever. I don't remember. I need to reread that too. But anyway, okay, I remember my point. Stephen King wrote Dreamcatcher with a pen, and he did it in like 6 months or something, which is just ridiculous. And it hurt me to think of that because I could not imagine myself doing something like that. I was like, he just must be insane. But then I start doing the morning pages from The Artist Way, and I'm writing 3 full pages every morning completely at ease. It's fun and
Mm,
relaxing and it feels good. So good that I want to skip work in order to just do it, even though it's complete nonsense. I mean, it's not all nonsense. You'll have 5 sentences of something that's, coherent and good, and then you'll have a sentence that's just ridiculous or whatever. Like you're
yeah.
just writing. But it feels so good. And after doing that for a while, I realized, oh, that's how Stephen King can write something with a pen that long because he loves it and he's not sitting there fighting with himself. It's not it's not torturous to him. It's enjoyable.
It's funny. I'm almost positive this is Stephen King. I don't remember the exact number, but one of the things he has said, somebody asked him, I'm sure he's been asked this many times, how do you write so much? I mean, Stephen King is incredibly prolific, writes monstrously big books seemingly every month. And someone asked him, like, how do you do that? And he said, every day I sit down and I write, I don't remember the number, however many pages. And just that just happens every day. It's like showing up for a job. You just do it. And he doesn't necessarily keep them, but he writes them. And so it sounds like he's doing exactly what you're describing. I don't know if he read the same book or found it in his own way, but I think he very much is in that mindset of he just writes. He does not appear to be hindered by the censor.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful thing. This is not a new concept. This is something we've talked about before with the inner game of tennis. We talked about it
Yeah.
through different terms and different worlds and examples, whatever. Go ahead.
I want to like cut in and say something about this. I feel like I finally have a better uh somewhat ironically name for this and a little bit of a better mental model for what we're describing here. It is funny you talk about this book, which was written in the 70s or maybe the 90s or whatever, but regardless, many, many decades ago. So this idea has been sitting there and many people are likely aware of it, but It's not really part of the art canon. It's not something that is talked about very often. Anyway, I've been reading this book, this very silly, obscure sci-fi book called "There Is No Anti-Memetics Division." And I actually don't really recommend it. It hasn't really been my favorite book, but the idea is amazing and it's really stuck with me. So the formulation of the book is that there are these things, these they call them SCP, some kind of like phenomena or something. And these things are anti-memes. They're in this kind of fantastical sci-fi characterization. They are something that escapes understanding and knowledge, in that they're like, they might not be invisible, but someone would see it, like this giant stone obelisk, on the mountainside. And it's not that they don't see it, it's right there, but it doesn't stay in their memory. Like, they, as soon as they look away, it's just gone. And they can't really fight against these things because as soon as someone makes a plan, it's forgotten, or they just can't explain it to someone else. Or these things just like eat the memories out of their brains to where there's no way to really deal with it because they escape understanding and just this sort of forgetfulness, or they're too hard to explain. The ideas, the information can't spread. And there's these, you know, organizations, the anti-memetics division, that's, designed to try and deal with these things, but people forget that the anti-memetics division exists because it doesn't stick in your brain, whatever. It's the opposite of a meme. A meme is an idea that is sort of viral. It is something that everyone talks about. One person hears it, they tell it to someone else. They are almost always uh, ideas that are engaging or novel. They're almost always very simple. They're the kind of things that people easily, intuitively understand. Often they're something that people formulate opinions on. You can look at the current era of politics and recognize that almost everything is a meme. It's like the bike shed principle. It's the stuff that people can talk about, the culture wars things, all of that. They're all memes. They're just ideas that spread. And then the opposite of that is an anti-meme. An idea, I mean, never mind the fantastical sci-fi representation of this. It's an idea that is just kind of weird and maybe a little bit boring or hard to put into words. It's the kind of thing that is not mimetic. It's not viral. And just thinking about that as a basic fundamental concept has made me appreciate some of these things that we've talked about before that are hard to name, hard to put into words. They don't spread very well. And I think what you're describing is one of them. It is an anti meme. It is very similar, I think, to what was in The Inner Game of Tennis, a book that we both loved, about a tennis coach describing what it is that actually helps someone learn the skill of tennis. But everything in that book is an anti meme. I've had so much trouble even explaining The Inner Game of Tennis to another human because it's like, it's really hard to get that stuff into words. Like, the whole premise of that book is that the way tennis, or and you can easily extrapolate to any sport or skill even, the way we teach it is in simple, concrete, easily repeatable terms, the explicit understanding, because those are memes. They are simple things. You can say, squeeze the racket tight when you go to do a serve, or put your left foot, in front of your right foot and square yourself to the ball. Like, those are memes. They're simple, they're easy to understand, but they're not necessarily what's important when you're trying to learn tennis. And it sounds like what you're describing is very, very similar, but I think that it is an anti-meme. It's an idea that is inherently difficult to spread, but that doesn't mean that it's not a valuable idea.
Yeah, good job. Yeah. It is difficult to explain, and there's so much more to it than just, overcoming the censor when you're writing, goofy pages in the morning. There there's so many other aspects to it
Yeah.
that I think are really interesting and fascinating and have been having an effect on me. And also, I know a person or two that that are familiar with the book and have gone through it, but it didn't really affect them at all.
Mm,
And I don't think they did the exercises. Because to me, the exercises in this book
mm-hmm,
are it's surrounded by, and I guess I don't need to be doing a book review, but it's surrounded by so much religious-y sounding stuff. There's
mm-hmm.
multiple pages on just how, God has a divine plan for you. And if I just read those pages, I would ignore the whole book completely. But uh, the exercises in it, I feel like could have been written just as easily by a scientist or by someone who wasn't super religious, and it would be just as effective. So the vehicle for the delivery of these exercises is a little bit strange, and so some people may be turned off to that, or more turned on by it. But
Well, that sounds like a pretty common problem in the, I don't know what to call it, like the group of people who tend to be very, scientific method oriented and, explicit, experimentable or testable thoughts and things like that. Like there is this huge bias towards explicit knowledge because that is something that you can observe and measure and articulate in very clear terms. And there's a lot of things that are potentially really interesting, like just, meditation. There is likely something going on there, but it's usually encapsulated in this very kind of spiritual framework. And there's a lot of stuff that myself and I think other people too like kind of bounce off of, like, man, this feels a little weird and I don't know that I really buy this and whatever. But that doesn't change the fact that there may be something really valuable that is just simply difficult to put into some explicit logical, terminology that you can just follow through. Like with this book, it may kind of take somebody who is very spiritual and is thinking from a very different uh, frame of mind versus someone who's like a scientist and we're gonna, do some RCTs and measure, the statistical differences here,
yeah,
you
yes,
know.
very much. And I think, well, I guess this is a different conversation, but humans are more, we're programmed for the other stuff. We don't,
Yeah.
we did not evolve with scientific ideals in our brains. We were crazy. We still are insane. We are absolutely fucking
Mm-hmm.
insane. Um, and yeah, like it doesn't matter how much of a hard scientist you are, your brain is not wired to actually think in those terms. So I don't know. Like you don't meet people and hand them your brain scan. Like, here, get to know me. Like
Yeah.
it's not how it works.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know.
Okay,
But so
well,
I'm
before we get off of this or wrap up maybe, I'm not going to read this book, but can you just tell me what the exercise is? Like if I were to try and do the same thing uh in the morning to get my mind, to practice getting my mind into this state specifically, what would I do?
I don't think I want to. If 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 you're so gung ho about not reading it, but basically, I've only read the first third of it, and I
Well,
really think
so you
it,
didn't read it either. Can you just tell me what the
I'm
exercises are?
I'm going through the stuff, and okay, the shortcut, I guess, if you're too proud to read it, but I really
I
think you
don't
could
know that it's
get it
pride.
after the first 2 or 3 chapters or whatever. And it's light reading. You could do it. It's not like a big dream
I just
catcher for
feel
Stephen
like
King.
I just feel like you could tell me. I feel like that'd be
Anyway,
fine.
yeah, I probably could. And I bought 3 books for it and really only needed one. Anyway, kind of wasted a lot of money. But anyway, the writing exercise is to write 3 pages, which actually turns out to be a whole lot. 3 pages
This
is a lot
sounds like a
of
lot,
writing. It
yes.
takes me about an hour every morning to do that. And
Wow.
I, sometimes I cut it in half. So I'll, whatever. I'll do
Yeah.
a page and a half or whatever. Uh, you just write. You sit down with a pen and hopefully a cheap notebook, and you just write. You know, well, I'm really tired this morning. I should get an extra cup of coffee. Today I have this, this, and this, and I've been feeling blah 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 lately, and I haven't done the podcast in 3 months. That's kind of strange. I wonder what I'll say when we have an episode.
Yeah.
You write and you don't judge. Oh, and there's a couple other important things, in the chapters that you don't want to read. You do not look back at all. So you write, you close the book, you don't look back. You never judge it. So you train yourself to know that it is not a thing to be judged. So you write it, you leave it alone, don't touch it. The other thing is you never ever show anyone.
Down for
Uh,
that.
yeah, which I feel like we all accept
Yeah.
with journals.
Right.
But it's a little different in just I could throw this away and it would be fine because I'm not trying to accurate. It's not like a beautiful journal where I'm capturing memories and it means so much. It is me just writing, getting it out of the way. The process of it is what's important. Um, and really what it is, and I already said this, but it's the focus on overriding the sensor part of your brain. It's
Yep.
to make you become aware of when that happens and then being able to overcome it, which is actually pretty easy with writing. Um, I don't know. I feel like I want to make you read the first chapter or two and then do this with me for a while. Because if you're deleting blog posts, sounds like a problem that maybe this could help you
I
fix.
mean, I'm interested. I'm on board. I'm not, I'm just tired of reading self-help novels when the idea is very small.
That's
But,
fine. Don't do
you
it.
know,
Suffer for the rest of your life. I don't care.
all right. So now
No, I just
you're already an elitist for a book you haven't
I kind of
even
am. Not the book,
finished.
not the book. I read it and I cringe, honestly. I think she does a really good job of identifying some important things. However, I'm definitely cringing when I read the book.
Yeah,
But I'm able to
that's what I'm
kind of see through
saying.
it.
Right. I just
However,
want you to do that and see through it and then just explain it to me.
yeah, all right. Well, I can continue to try. Uh,
Okay. Well, maybe
but yeah,
we maybe pick that up next podcast or something, or I don't know. We'll
yeah.
we'll see where I get.
Well, I don't know if I actually said this, but I have been able to take this same mindset and apply it to drawing. So after the writing, I immediately pick up the sketchbook and I try to keep the same mindset, and it has been totally,
Yeah,
you know, life-changing so far. Hopefully it stays that way, but,
that's super cool. I mean, that's really
yeah.
cool.
Okay.
All right, cool. We did it. We came together and we talked about something.
Yeah. Okay, goodbye.